So back when the Liven XFM came out, I made a video about how you can use it like a virtual analog synth, despite the fact that it is an FM synth. This is because the Liven XFM is capable of creating all sorts of different analog style waveforms using feedback within each of its operators. So we can stack up square and saw, noise, sine, all sorts of different analog style waveforms, one on each operator, and then from the front panel we can use the filters, access to the various different envelope parameters and such like to use it very much like a virtual analog. And it's multi-timbre as well because we've got 4 tracks, so we can have different sound on each one of these tracks. Because I've been jamming on a small setup recently and I wanted quick access to that sort of analog style tone on the XFM, I've made 50 presets that you can download and then import into the XFM from the overlay mode, and then you've got access to lots of preset different waveforms and you've no need to make them yourself. So I'll show you how to add them to the XFM a bit later, but if I just scroll around to a different synth mode from a blank pattern, so go to library mode, move around to where I've got them stored, so bank 31. So we can see here we've got a saw. So the file names of these will try to give you a bit of a clue as to what's going on within them. The letters are going to be representative of which waveforms have been used. Obviously sine, square and saw all begin with an S, so I've used a W for saw. And then the last number will show you what type of preset envelope it's using. We only have access to the attack and release part of the envelope from the front panel, so that means we don't have access to decay and sustain. So I've created 10 different preset decay and sustain levels that we can use on our sounds, on some of the presets anyway. So if I just turn that attack down, we'll be able to hear this has got a very short decay and 0 sustain, and as we go through that gets longer, and then as we get to number 3 we'll hear short decay and a low sustain, and then the third set have a high sustain. Then envelope type number 9 is just max sustain. So a lot of the waveforms that I've included in the pack are just envelope number 9, because otherwise there'd be a huge number of permutations of different envelope types and waveform types. But you can start with these and edit them and create your own waveforms anyway. So obviously we have access to the release parameter 2. We can get obviously long releases. If we turn it down, we just get nice quick releases. So the idea of this is that between the preset decay and sustain levels and then the attack and release we've got access to from the front panel, we've basically got a whole ADSR to play with. The rest of the file name is going to tell you much more about the waveform. So if I scroll through to something else, we've got a T here instead of a W, so we've got triangle wave with envelope type number 9, and then we've got, so N for noise, 0 when it's not on this side will be an oscillator that's off. So I've decided that we've got 2 waveforms playing at the same volume on this one using operators 1 and 2. When they're not detuned, they'll just sound like one single oscillator. A 0 will mean this slot is off, and then this will mean there's something playing it, in this case noise, and then they go down in volume, so loud, medium, volume and quiet. So this is triangle with a quiet noise waveform, and then as it goes along you'll see this time we've got triangle, noise and then off, so much louder noise. And then Q is for a square, so square wave, and again square, silence and then noise, square, loud, noise and silence. With all these we can use the filter to shape them. So if I just go here to filter, turn this on to low pass, we can then do everything that we would normally do with a virtual analog with this filter. And it's envelope. So obviously that will work with different waveforms. If we want to try something different. And then the saw that we saw earlier. And then we can just do resonance, obviously. So it's capable of some quite chunky low bass sounds. Just to go through some of the other presets that are available in the pack, you've got a whole set of pulse waveforms with the same set of envelope types. And then if we carry on, we've got lots of things that are mixed together. So this is a saw. The dot next to it means it's 2 detuned saw waves. We've got a pulse. The dot next to that means it's down an octave. All this stuff is detailed in a document, by the way. I don't expect to be able to remember it just from this. So we've got detuned saw and a pulse down 1 octave. Sounds like that. And then keep going. There is pulse and noise. These two, and then saw and noise. If I drop back onto another bank, this is another set with all the different envelope types, and it has a detuned saw with a square down 1 octave and some noise. So again, if we turn that filter back on, we can get some great stuff. If we carry on, we've got a detuned square with a square down an octave. So loads of different combinations. And then we've got some stuff with fifths. So basically, if this oscillator isn't being used, I've decided that we can put different characters in here to tell you a bit more about what's going on. So this 5 means this waveform is tuned up a fifth, I think. And then same with squares, and then so this is square with square down an octave but tuned up a fifth. So between these different combinations, you can create lots of different variants. So and then same with square. So loads of different things to play with, and then obviously there's a full sets of types that have all different envelope variations that you can then go in and edit if you want to change the waveforms, and that's quite easy. I'll share the original video that I did about how to make your own waveforms so you can edit these. So as a bit of an offshoot of this, and not quite in the same format, I've created some sync waveforms. They sound a little bit like oscillator sync anyway. So one simply called sync I've got loaded into the library mode here. On this preset, the envelope will determine how long the sync takes to kick in and fade out. So you can hear it. Got that classic kind of sync sound. And then if you scroll around to XLFO, I've got sync 1 loaded in one side and then sync 2 loaded in the other. So the LFO will determine how quickly it goes backwards and forwards between these two. Again, for that classic sync sound. So in order to get these presets onto the Liven XFM, you're going to need either a computer, a tablet or a phone, and then an appropriate MIDI interface and some software to transfer MIDI ChrisLX data from your device onto the Liven. This is something I've shown on a much older video about how to update the Livens. It's basically the same hookup procedure and the software is the same. There's also a guide on Sonicware's website about how to update as well, which is a text document that I'll also share. So the procedure is more or less the same, apart from we don't boot it into a special mode for updating the firmware. We just go into the edit mode. So into edit, then we choose a bank and a sound that we want to overwrite. So if I find something, one of these somewhere is blank. So this TP12 is just a blank sine wave sound. I go into here. Then we're now in edit mode, so we can change the sound. At this point, if you were to send MIDI ChrisLX data in via the MIDI in, this will overwrite this preset and the name on the screen will change. And then you can just press OK to save the preset down. It'll give you the chance to change the name, and then that's done. So for every single one of the presets that's available, we can overwrite them onto whichever slots we want. So it's as simple as that. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you some extra tools to play with on the XFM. It's quite a nice thing to have just a small sort of multi-timbral virtual analog in such a small box, because most of the other ones I've got are really large. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if there's anything you need to know, and please watch again and subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much.